Hi guys, welcome back to the channel for another video on Marvel Contest of Champions. This one is focused on how much coral for the respective different tiers that you can actually collect this month. I also want to look at this statement made by Kabam Mike on how many rifts you can actually do at the highest level. According to this, he says that you can do 10. But also I just want to check whether or not that is indeed the case, or maybe I'm missing something that's going to be added in at a later date. The first thing to take into consideration is we've already been given 10,000 tier 1 coral to use, which I believe is given to those that are uncollected. And as well, one thing that's good that's come about is the Fantastic Force crystal will be put into the game soon, so that is going to mean an extra opportunity to get the respective 10,000 point giving champions to get yourself a better standing and also better grind in the Fantastic Use event. One thing to bear in mind is that the event goes from June 5th and then concludes on July 3rd. This is basically 4 weeks. The calendar for every week gives 10,000 tier 1 coral, so that does equate to 40,000 in total. Coupled with the calendar, that's 50,000 in total for tier 1. But one thing I don't know is whether or not the next week is actually going to be tier 2, and then maybe the next one's going to be tier 3, and then the final week is going to be tier 4. I don't know. I would assume that it would still stick with tier 1. Sticking with events, and there's nothing for beginner. There's the usual 10,000 for normal, heroic, master, and uncollected for the respective tiers. Where a lot of your tier 2 as well as tier 3 coral grind comes in is with solo events. Each day, by completing all milestones, you're guaranteed 3,000 tier 2 coral and as well 750 tier 3 coral. Now, I've estimated that there are 28 days of grind, or 28 events that you can grind out based on a 24-hour period of grind. There's 84,000 tier 2 coral on offer. Tier 3 is 21,000. And if you are looking to get any kind of idea of rank, then you're adding in, for say, ranking at 51%, 7,000 additional tier 3. Or if you're looking to get rank 21%, then it's 14,000 tier 3. But you could be one of those people that shoot for higher amounts and able to get a lot more. Top 1 to 20% maybe, adding additional in. It could be a case that you're an absolute boss of the game and can get up to rank 3, rank 2, and even the #1 spot. Either way, it's not going to be the full representation of us as a community, so those 2 rank placements kind of feel normal to a wider audience that may be grinding out this event. Either way, it's not really adding much to your grind if you are getting that additional rank. Maybe more so if you're shooting for about the 21% each time, but you have to really make that decision. Are you going to be one of those players that grinds out a lot more? And it could be a case that you might have to put upwards of 800,000 in order to get that placement. It's still very early to get that kind of idea, but if I find out, I will put it in the pinned comment when the results come in. So taking all that information, where does that leave us with final totals? Based on my calculations, these are the final totals. So a tier 1 seems to be quite a bit on offer, and do bear in mind that calendar as well as that message gave us 60,000 in total. Not to mention the fact that if you do a lot of the milestones, you'll see yourself get 94,000 tier 2 coral, and with the tier 3 with a milestone grind, milestone only, 32,000. Finally, that single 10,000 from doing uncollected. And a thing that I do bear in mind is that please note that additional ranks can be grinded out for more tier 3 coral and solo events. So if you want to rank higher, then you'll get more back, as we've just looked into. But the question is, how many rifts does that equate to? Because you have to bear in mind you get 5,000 coral for the respective tier next every time you complete one type. So if you do tier 1, then you'll get 5,000 of the tier 2. Now let's convert all those totals, all that information to rifts. And I must say, based on what Kabam Mike has said, maybe I've got something completely wrong, but this is the data that I've collected and this is what I feel to be true. And I've gone over this multiple times just to make sure this is indeed correct. So this is what I feel and this is what I've seen and this is the data. So as you can see here, 60,000 tier 1 coral means that we'll do 6 rifts with 30,000 more tier 2 coral left over. 30,000 from the previous one plus the 94,000 tier 2 equals 120,000, 124,000, but that's 12 rifts with 60,000 left over, because obviously if you do a rift you get 5,000 of the coral back. gives a remainder of 4,000 tier 2 coral. Moving on to the next one, so that's 60,000 plus the 32,000 tier 3 equals 9 rifts, with 45,000 left over, which obviously will go to the next one. But there's a remainder of 2,000 tier 3 coral. And finally, 45,000 plus the 10,000 from that initial clear of uncollected equals 5 rifts, with a remainder of 5,000 tier 4 coral left over. But what I thought would be a good idea would be to number crunch this scenario. So the number 1 ranked person, what could they theoretically get? And here are the results. So this is what I found, and again, I could be completely wrong with this, but again, this is based on the data collection and timesing this by what you can actually get. So number 1 ranked solo scenario adds a new dynamic and adding 63,000 extra tier 3 coral. So that means it's up to 15 rifts, with 75,000 left over, with a remainder of 5,000 tier 3 coral, which equates to 8 rifts and an additional 5,000 tier 4 left over. So what do I think about the whole thing about 10 tier 4 rifts being available? I think the answer is yes, to a degree. And I think this is where the monetary side of things comes in, and do expect there's going to be a deal at some point. So as you know, with previous months, there's been stuff added into the daily deals, and it's usually in these in order to say like, oh, well, if you want some more coral, then go down this route. So I think the answer is yes, you will be able to get 10, but there could be a monetary side of things that you might have to kind of buy your way into in order to get that full amount of 10. And it may be a case you don't need to finish in rank 1 position for solo events. It may be a case that you'll get a significant amount from doing and buying the daily deal. There we have it, guys. That has been a video analysing the extent of coral that you can grind out this month and the lengths you'll need to go to in order to get loads of rifts in. Either way, look out for those deals that will probably come towards the end of the month. And at the same time, thank you very much for watching this video. Hit the like button if you enjoyed it. Also, hit the subscribe button with post notifications on. And if you want to support the channel and me as a creator, then please consider hitting the join button and becoming a member. Or I'll see you in the later live stream and we can have a chat about this event. Thanks so much for watching. I shall catch you in the next one. Bye bye for now.